Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. I'm your host, Juliet Clark, and today we have a bonus training. My friend Tracy Hazzard wanted to share this training with all of you. So if you like slides or you want to see the visual, definitely go over to YouTube. You can follow us at Superbrand Publishing and see the live training over there. Or if you're someone who listens, stay where you're at. So before we get started with Tracy, I want to remind you, if you're someone who's using Go High Level, our trainings are open to the public. The one for May is Thursday, May 15th, 2025 at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And May's training is understand and utilizing your CRM. I switched to Go High Level back in September of 2024. I have never been so happy with a platform. So I encourage all authors to take that leap into that one size fits all platform. And what I mean by that is not like it's for everybody, but what it is a one-stop shop for marketing and your sales pipeline and just all sorts of stuff. And I love the new AI in it as well. So you can RSVP for this event. Rebecca Bertoldi is my agent, has my agency. And you can register for that at ghlmonthly.com. We'd love to see you there, whether you're an author or not, or you're thinking about becoming an author. It's a great way to build your platform with a little bit less stress. So Tracy Hazzard is a seasoned media expert with over 2,600 interviews from articles in Authority Magazine, BuzzFeed, and her Inc. magazine column, and from her multiple top-ranked videocasts and podcasts like The Binge Factor and Feed Your Brand, one of CIO's top 26 entrepreneur podcasts. Tracy brings diverse views from what works and what doesn't work in marketing, branding, and media from thought leaders and industry icons redefining success around the globe. Tracy's unique gift to the podcasting, marketing, and branding world is being able to identify that unique, bingeable factor, the thing that makes people come back again and again, listen actively, share as raving fans, and buy everything you have to sell. So stay tuned for this training. Tracy, welcome to the show. I'm so excited about this.
I love teaching AI because I love the expression on people's face when they go, oh, I never tried it that way.
I know. I taught a whole course I took what I learned from you and taught people how to streamline. But I'm excited because I don't use Gemini. And so this is going to be all new for me. I'm a Perplexity girl.
So Perplexity uses multiple different AIs, like large language models underneath it. So a lot of these ones like Perplexity, like, what are some of the other ones that some of the new ones out there that they use multiple things to accomplish what they want. And so sometimes, like, I literally can tell you if you've used ChatGPT or Gemini. I could tell the difference any day of the week by your results, not just the process, but also as you're typing into it, it has a distinctive process in how it asks for things. So you can tell whether or not one is using it or the other. The interesting part is that some of the biggest companies we use stuff in is using Gemini as its basis. And so that is my reason for going all in as a content creator on using Gemini. So think about it this way. If Zoom and Canva and some of these really large companies who have tons of diverse companies utilize the large language model that is a part of Gemini, Google's Gemini, they use that, then there's more learning data, more real learning data, not just like people going in and trying to hack ChatGPT or just typing stuff in for their own personal use on a one-off basis. This is big companies using it to serve their clients. So the information in there is getting richer and richer and smarter and smarter. And it's why I think it's moving faster. The second reason I like Gemini is because my ultimate goal as a content creator is to get search engine optimization, to rank, right? You want to rank. And so whether or not you want to get Google search ranking, YouTube ranking, or you just want to have good keywords so that you can make some money off of ads, it doesn't matter. All those search engines work the same with the same optimization model. But Google's been doing it longer. I have a lot more rich information underneath it. So I would want to go to the place that knows more.
Yeah, and that is so true too, because I've been looking into ads lately. Like I want to generate more ads. And I talked to a company a couple weeks ago, and it's $10,000 a month. And I'm thinking, how can I use AI to learn to do that myself? Because I don't want to give somebody $10,000 a month to do
Well,
that.
and the big key is at the end of the day, you will not make any money off of those ads. It will not click through. It will not result in a book sale. It will not result in the things that you want if you do not get your keywords right.
Yes. Yeah. Well, same
So
with
it
books.
starts with that, right? It starts with that. And so sometimes we call it metadata, sometimes we call it SEO, sometimes we call it focus keywords, long tail keywords. You may have heard all of those terms. They're all interchangeable to what we're doing underneath it all. But if we don't embed our blogs, our social media posts, sometimes you put them in hashtags on your social or on your YouTube, still it's the same thing. It's a keyword or a keyword phrase. And we got to get them right. And we've got to hit on the one that has the most people searching for it, right? Because it would be, if I was doing something in my business and I have my keyword is podcast for podcasters, which is my tagline for my show, Feed Your Brand. But nobody types that in. They don't type in the podcast app, I'm looking for a podcast for podcasters. They type in how to podcast,
Right.
how to market my podcast, right? They're typing in something different. And that's what we have to remember. And our content's job, and being a prolific content creator where you're creating every week something, you can cover all of those over time. You do not want to keep doing the same one again and again and again. You want to cover around the topic. So if they type in something like how to promote my podcast instead of how to market my podcast, I've covered them with another topic and another article, another piece of content that's driving them into my ecosystem as a whole. And that ecosystem should always be your website, by the way.
Yeah, but
you should always have a home base.
This is such a good point, because I get authors all the time who they want to make their book title a hashtag. Nobody's looking for that. It's like almost too cute by half, or they'll come up with this, oh, I'm running this campaign to do XYZ, so I made a hashtag. If nobody's looking for that hashtag, it's not doing anything for you.
Yeah, the cutesy, I always think of it, it's like the cutesy hashtag, Alex and Jonathan, hashtag Alex and Jonathan, wedding, anniversary, whatever it is that you do those. That's great right then and there when everybody's going to be sharing, but it's only good for events to do something like that. To have them in general, you need to know your keyword silo is what we call it. We call it a silo, we want to rank for all these words, and it's a big storage. And that's why they call it a silo, a big storage of all these fantastic words that relate to the core topic that I want to attract people for, listeners, readers, whoever I'm attracting.
Yeah, cool. So you want to jump into the training?
Yeah, so let's jump into the training. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you some things. But what I want to do is say to everyone, the key to what we've done in our processing of content and the way we've made it easier is I'm a speaker. I can talk all day long about any subject. You can put me in front of a mic and I will, off the cuff, go to town and be able to share with you great information way faster than I can write. Now, I'm a great writer too, but I can do that faster. And so this helps me give my content to my team and let them have my core information, have my vision, have my voice, and then yet help me write the rest of the article. Now, I always do my final edits. I do not run anything, but I have always used a ghostwriter through the years because I just need the mechanism of having to speed things up. I mean, I'm really busy. I'm running a company. I don't have time for that, but I do have time to think about where I want to start, what I want to talk about, what's important, and I can get that out 15 minutes on the mic. Now, I use my podcast every week. It just makes it easier for me. So we're recording our content every single week. I've got 30 to 45 minutes of content. I might have 3 articles in there. And so I might be able to say, hey, break this up, use this section for this, use this section for that article, or combine these 2 podcasts and make a 3-part article. I've done those before. So various things like that, but it's always starting from my voice, which means our starting point is a transcript.
Right. And so that's where I was going to interject. For those of you authors out there who's saying, well, how do I get a transcript? I use turboscript.ai. It's free and you
Right.
can get a great transcript. So I don't want to hear any of you say, oh, I recorded, I don't know how to do it, or I'm using some funky
So,
AI.
but you don't even have to do that today. Like if you use Zoom, turn on the AI transcript. It's great.
Yeah.
It'll give you a summary at the top, but then it'll give you the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just turn it on. It's not bad at all. It's perfect for where we're starting from here. We don't need to clean it up. So what I'm going to show you is actually my edited, because in Podetize, that my company's portal where you submit your episodes for production, if you're submitting episodes on your own, you're doing it yourself, we give you transcripts. It's a part of your subscription.
Right.
So you submit your article and you can get the transcript after. Now you still have to edit it because, I mean, basically the AI is not smart enough to always get our terminology, right?
Right.
And it always spells my last name wrong because it's Hazzard with 2 Z's, not 1. So it always gets it wrong. So, things like that. You're going to have to clean it up. But in our system, when they're doing it yourself, we give them a transcript. But when you're done for you, you're getting a blog. So you can go and copy and paste the blog. That's already an edited version of the transcript. Or in your show folder, which we have for everybody with all of their assets and everything, there's actually a final transcript as well. So it's all cleaned up, already edited and already cleaned up. So that's actually what I'm going to show you and what I started with here, just because it looks a little less messy. So there you go. So that you can see. It starts in this episode. We're going to talk about podcast profits unveiled, your guide to monetization. We have a different perspective on this. So you can see what you don't see here are timestamps, my name, Tom's name, because I think it's just the two of us in this particular episode. So you don't see any of that here. It's stripped out. It actually doesn't matter if that's in there or not. I just want you to be aware. Do not think that you have to do it to get this to work properly. And so what you see me is that I'm in a Google Doc. So I'm in my Google Drive. I have a Google Doc open and I have Gemini attached to it. So that's because I have a workspace account, but you can also pay a little extra. It's, not too much. And you could pay a little extra and have Gemini attached to your documents. And it's really great because it gives you 3 tools to use instead of just one. So this may be, I'm just going to pull this down a little. This may be what you guys have seen before, this Gemini, where you basically go to the little, astro star, I call it, the little astro star, and you go in and you start typing into Gemini, just like you would ChatGPT, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with this particular one, I have 2 extra tools. So can you see that little help me write?
Yes.
Yep. And I have this tool over here, which basically is putting what is in that other window that I showed you, the big Gemini window. It's putting it right next to this for me. So this is much more streamlined and easier to use. So here's the first step for me. The first thing that I always do is actually, and this is a tactic that I've discovered, if you want it to refer to specific documents, so instead of me having to say, take only the information from this document or anything like that, if I just highlight the thing, and I go to the bottom, which I'm going to want to do because I want to use the pencil at the bottom. So it will insert what I have below it. I don't want to stick it in the middle of it and mess everything up, right?
Right.
So if I do that, right, if I highlight it, it automatically knows I'm referring to everything that's highlighted. I don't have to tell it that.
Oh, okay.
So that saves a ton of time doing it. Of course, mine was really long here. Sorry, that was like a 45-minute episode.
So can I ask a question? So it's not like ChatGPT where I have to highlight the whole thing, copy, paste it in, and then prompt.
No, because you're in your doc already.
Okay.
So you just highlight it. Now, you don't have to highlight it. You can go over to this sidebar and do it. But what I'm telling you is that this inserts better. It gets you into the next part of the process better if you just take the 2 seconds required to highlight the whole thing. Or select all and then just come down to using the pencil below it. So now I made my prompts over here. So this is my prompt, and I'll read it to you when I type it in. But I just wrote it down, but you can, write it on the cuff if you want. So here's my prompt, and my prompt says, write an 800-word advice-style article for an entrepreneur, solo to small business owner magazine, or breakthrough author magazine. I might occasionally write that in there. Using the podcast episode content from our show, Feed Your Brand, I refer to it as highlighted. I just wrote that in for good measure, but you don't have to. It knows that as the basis for the article. Keep the tone casual but direct, and remember that the audience is composed of business owners and entrepreneurs who want to market their company and services and get more awareness for their expertise. This is a long prompt, but this is what I found this is the fastest. Use a prose style for the article with very few bullets or numbered points. So it will give you bullets and numbered points all the time, and it'll still give them to me here, but it will give me less. I don't want a listicle. If I wanted a listicle, I would ask for it.
Yes. And I think that is the one downside of Perplexity is even though it gives you citations, you know it's correct, it does a lot of bullet pointing.
Yeah. So I'm going to let it run now. So it's going to run and it's going to give me some choices. And we're going to just, I'm not going to totally, screen this, but I would be picky about it. Sometimes I'll make it do it twice. I'm a little picky. It's a lot of content it's reviewing because there's at least 6,000 words above.
Yeah, but let's talk about that 6,000 words for a minute. A lot of people will do a video and then they'll put that video on their site without that transcription. That's what's so beautiful about what you guys do is the SEO ranking because you have that article in there with the video.
That's why, and for all of you podcasters, especially those of you who use the Podetize system, what I like about using our final transcript or our blog is that all the SEO is already worked into it. Mm-hmm. So it was already done in one pass. And so you don't need to do it again. Where sometimes you don't think about talking about all the different phrases. The great part about most people when they speak is they'll use marketing, promotion. They'll use the terms. They don't want to be repetitive. So we uncover a larger amount of keywords when we speak. And that's another great reason to start from your voice. But sometimes I used to write articles for Inc. magazine and I didn't air them as a podcast, but I always had an interview and I would take the interview, transcribe it, and then we would start the article. Now that was way before AI, so we had to do it with the ghostwriter and manually. But this is so much faster and so much cheaper, right?
Yes, and I remember we tried to write a book that way, and it didn't. It didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't work, right? But I've done it with doing all the chapters from my podcast episodes or my course, and it works great. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so I look at this and they've given me a title, they've given me subtitles, like they're doing really good things already by the format of this because they know this is how an article should be. And after I edit it a little bit, it starts to learn me so that this is probably like the 10th article I've written in the last month. So it really knows my format. It knows what I'm going to make it do again, and it tries to cut that out. It's learning from me because I'm doing it in my own environment. And that's one reason you see I'm signed in to my Tracy at Podetize, right? I'm signed in. And as long as I'm signed in as me, it's going to continue to learn as me. It's kind of like when in ChatGPT, you keep them in the chat sections so that it treats all of that as back information. It's going to do that automatically across everything here. So this one's not bad. Let's cut to the chase. Podcasting is a crowded space. That does sound like something I would say, right? So this does have the tone I want. It's got all the good sections. Authenticity sells. That's a great tagline. I might beef it up with some keywords as I go. But all of this good. And then, of course, there's key takeaways. And I usually will take those out, but I'll show you how I do it. So now I'm going to say, this is really great. And so instead of, you could replace the text above if you wanted to. I like to keep it in because I might want to refer to a section, like there might be an example I gave or a quote that I want to take from my podcast episode. And so I want it above so I can go back and find that.
So before you go on from there, those key takeaways, those could actually be something you cut and paste into a social media post or a LinkedIn newsletter.
Exactly. I don't get rid of them. I absolutely don't get rid of them. So, but I do make them into a paragraph and then I save them. So that's how I do it differently. So this is, because this is where my title is, I'm just going to make it title text so that I just know the cutoff. Okay. So everything above is, actually that's not, I messed that up. A lot of times it adds on to the end of your thing. That's why it adds on to the end of what was above. So that's why I always make a delineation, draw a line, whatever it is, so that I know what I'm working on. So now here's my article that I'm going to work on from here. And I'm going to say, this isn't big enough. I may want it to expand on this. So I could go in here and I'd say, elaborate. It's still going to refer to everything above and it's going to elaborate on it. It's going to come up with a little bit more. it might do too much. Sometimes when I say elaborate, it'll be like, 3 paragraphs. And so you may not say, you could say elaborate, adding 2 more. See, like way too long.
Yeah. So
way too long.
like condense this elaboration.
And so, that might not work. And so you could highlight it and go, expand this with a sentence about the types of premium content. So you're giving it what to expand on. Expand it by using an example from above. So it's given me more. Those are really great. So I could replace it. And so now I've expanded that. So I go through it systematically, paragraph by paragraph, sentence by sentence, and edit it like I would do a final draft.
Mm-hmm.
And I look for the things that I'm interested in. And so, like, let's say I want to come back to this. I don't love this subtitle. Maybe I think it needs a better keyword. So I highlight it and I'll come back to it later. Or like I want a quote inserted in here. So I can highlight this and say, find a quote that fits this paragraph from the transcript above.
And you don't care who the quote is. Like, can you give it a specific person?
I happen to know that it's only me and Tom up and above. So
okay, all right. But could I do that if I wanted to say, grab a quote from Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Big Magic, that makes sense with this? Can I do that?
No, it can't go out and get it from someplace else.
Okay.
You'd have to bring it in. So you could say, work in this quote and give them the quote.
Okay.
So you can do it that way. So now that I like this, I'm going to say, work this into the paragraph. And then, so now I was like, that's great. The quote's great. Work this into the paragraph. Now they've done it and says, make it your own show. There you go. It even cut down the quote that it used. So now I replace that. So see, you're refining your article as you go in layers. Now there's a I see people all the time. They're like, okay, unless I'm going to change the tone, I would not take the whole thing and highlight it. I would only go paragraph by paragraph because it's going to change something. It's going to shorten something. You're going to lose something that was actually really good in the first draft, and you're going to have trouble finding it again. So it is much faster and a better edit if you go section by section. This one happens to have a lot of sections, but it knows I like these because it knows I like subtitles. So it's given me more than the average person because I like the subtitles because I can work in the keywords.
Okay.
So that's why I like them. Promotion, monetization. That's a great keyword. I know I'm going to love that one. I might want to work the word podcast, authenticity sells. Great. Like you might want to work in your niche, your category.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's go down to this key takeaways. I'm going to take it and copy it because I don't want to lose it. I want to, save for social. Except I can't spell today while everybody's on.
Either.
I know. So if I take these, I would say, okay, I'm going to put this 2 paragraphs and that paragraph and the takeaways together. And I'm going to say, combine these into one prose paragraph. And just leave it like, I can just do it pretty much simply because I've done it before. So it's going to know to do it. You might need to say no bullet points or something like that. So I'm not going to take the time to read this, but you see it's done it and it's taken in, and sometimes it'll make a list of all the different things that, that were in there, but it covers them all. So I'm going to replace that. Now I've got everything I want, no bullet points. You might have to reformat, but now I've got exactly what I want. And now it looks like a real article, no listicles, none of those things anymore. So now that's pretty much done.
What is a listicle for those people who don't know?
So a listicle might be like a numbered list of things or bullet points where you're going to go through each one at a time. And so like each section, so you might have a bullet point, but then you have a like detail about it. Like you might have a story or an example. So a listicle takes out and puts each one into a section in a particular order.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Top 10, that's a listicle.
Okay.
The best ways too that's usually a listicle.
There used to be a comedian who did that. Who was it?
Yeah, it was David Letterman.
Yes, I couldn't remember his last name, but I remembered his beard.
Yes, that was after he was done. But anyway, so now I want to go back to, now that I'm done with the article, I want to go back to my title. And I have this is my little cheat sheet. I actually have a section. We built a section into our own working document where we share with every team member our prompts. And it's totally private. I'm not showing it to you because it's like you have to log into an app and you have to do all of this together. But we have our prompts so that the entire copy team could share a prompt. The transcript team can share a prompt. And we have we call it a hack meeting where we share a hack that we've done this week or a process that we've used. And so this one that I'm teaching you is my team's favorite because they thought, like, let's just make the prompt bigger and bigger and try and do everything all at once. And that would be the way to go. And it actually is a huge failure and it takes way more time. And so I call this a layered approach. And thinking about a recipe, when we put the wet ingredients into the dry, we get better results than if we dump the dry ingredients into the wet. Or actually, I think it's reversed. But if we take the wet ingredients and we drop in the dry, we have less clumps, right? This is what's going to happen here. When you put this in the right order, it's going to make it faster and easier for you. So I could have started at the top and changed my title. I didn't when we were starting the article. I wanted to fix the article and get it to where it was going to be so that all the rest of the content was picked so that now when I change my title, it really reflects what's in the article. Mm-hmm. And so now I'm going to highlight this and I'm going to do what I did before, but I'm going to type in now this new cover, create 5 additional impactful SEO-friendly titles. I always say that, even though you shouldn't have to, but I do say that, for the article below that would attract entrepreneurial content creators. That's who I want to attract. And so be very clear with the audience focus. So when I write for Breakthrough Author Magazine, I say it's authors who are using content to promote their book. That's exactly the phrase I use.
And I want to point out here, I always do that as well. Give me 5, give me 10, because sometimes that, like we're looking right now, beyond ad revenue, it might be one of those other subtitles that I think goes with that better. So I always kind of mix and match.
Yeah, sometimes I'll even go like, oh, I like From Passion to Profit, monetizing your podcast as an entrepreneur. That's a great subtitle. Mm-hmm. So I want to save it and I might use it as the subtitle for the whole article. So, I definitely will go with 5 and then I make some comments and then I do 5 more. That's why I don't do 10 at once, is because I would be like, oh, I don't like the tone or I don't like the focus. Maybe I should have said something a little different. But these are very good. I probably would. And so I usually just insert them right below. And then I make some decisions about it. I'm like, definitely want to use this one as a subtitle. So I might copy that one, put it here. And then, but it won't let me paste. It's giving me a hard time. It keeps numbering it. There we go.
Well, I think oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think part of what you're showing people here is, for me, authors are constantly telling me, I'm running a company, I'm writing a book, I'm building a platform, I don't have time for content. You're truly making it so content is a no-brainer.
Right. And so I don't like this one because it says 7 and we really did I really go over 7? I don't want it to be that clear, but I like beyond ad revenue. Mm-hmm. I think that's really good. I'm going to do this and I'm going to combine these two together. And take out that one. So this is my new title. Beyond ad revenue, alternative monetization for entrepreneurial creators. And then this is my From Passion to Profit, monetizing your podcast as an entrepreneur. So now, remember, I wanted to work in some keywords. I think that that's not quite right and do this. So now I've got my articles ready, my title, my subtitle. I now want to do a final pass on the keywords. Plus, I want to have keywords that I could use as hashtags for YouTube or for social media, for any kind of promotion that I want it to go along with some of these key takeaways that I have at the bottom, right? So what I do is I again highlight only because I also have the transcript in this document and I don't want it to get confused. So I again highlight my article But now this time I'm going to go out to the sidebar and I'm going to type in the last one I have. And that is, what impactful keywords should I work into this? And I'm going to put highlighted because of the way that it is here, highlighted article to help it rank higher for this topic. You could say rank higher on YouTube, rank higher on Google ranking. You could be specific about it. I don't need to because it kind of knows me. Let's see. Why am I? There we go. So now it's working on that, and it's going to come up with core keywords.
Nice.
And supporting keywords, which is really great because the supporting keywords could really help me if I wanted to go back down here and say, wow, when I was covering all those different ones, did I cover I got affiliate partnerships, premium content, so you can double check that you've covered them in the phrases that are here. So now this I do manually, because if you just and you can do it, I've seen people do it where they'll take it and they'll go, work these in. The problem is sometimes it sounds like, it doesn't, and I want to be a little more intelligent in my article, right? I'm not just doing it for the search engine bot. I want humans to actually read it. And I don't want to feel like I keyword stuffed.
Define that for people, please, because that's what used to happen on Google, and they would know you did it.
Right. They would be keyword stuffing. You'd be like, okay, how can I work into my title podcast monetization, alternative monetization, and promotion monetization, revenue streams for entrepreneurial creators? I just keyword stuffed all of the first 5 core keywords into my title. Not good.
It
sounded terrible. Who's going to click that title and actually read it?
And as I recall, before we got really big on content, people used to put it at the bottom of their pages on their web pages, and that's where Google would catch you because you'd have all those stuffed in at the bottom. Or I'm not actually sure where the web designer put it, but it wasn't through your content.
Right. So you can click insert or copy. I usually copy because I want to put it here. So that I can use it for social media as well. And so what will happen is I'll go through and I'll just make the final pass edits, add in a couple of those words that I want. And I usually don't add it. I usually just clarifying that they're covered, right? And so one of the other things is I could say, I can highlight here and also go there and say, which one of these keywords are missing from the article.
Oh.
And so I can also ask it to look for it for me. The keyword building a podcast business not found in the article body. Okay, so that's the one I should look for. So you can create a shortcut for yourself. You can also highlight that one and say, so I can highlight this one and I can say, what would be the best place to work in this phrase? Oops. So now it's going to tell me where I should put it.
Nice.
So you can also cut down. This article will explore different strategies and tactics. So I don't know if I want to put it that way. You can ask it to go put it in, but I don't know that I would want to. I'd want to go read it myself.
Okay.
But you can help yourself in this process. These supporting keywords, don't work them in unless I wrote the term events and didn't put the word live in front of it. I should do that. It's not a big deal to add that word and qualify it. But if I'm already using these phrases and I could word them this way, they'll rank higher. But if I didn't already work them in, this is a lot to cram into an article. It's one thing to put it into. We do this all the time. That's why you see so many. These supporting keywords get adjusted and corrected in the transcript sometimes or in a long tail blog. But I wouldn't do it in an article this many. But I would use them in social media posts. So, trying to create premium content for your podcast, and then here's an article that talks all about it, right? So these are the ways to do this. So this is simply the way that I go about all of these things. Now, if I want to go from here and I'm going to write an email, or I'm creating swipe file information from the article to help other people promote it, a lot of times I will delete everything else. So I will take this and put it into its own file. And then from there work, removing the transcript at that point, or I just delete the transcript from here.
Okay, so you can put a Word doc into Gemini. Can you put a PDF into Gemini and ask it to do that as well?
You can. It's not as successful.
It's not like
I highly recommend.
It's not like Perplexity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I highly recommend that you just copy the information out of the PDF, which you can pretty easily do, or convert the PDF out. You can do that as well. Now, the other thing is, I didn't show you this, but because this is like sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, and I kind of prefer to use Gemini within Canva, but you can also create an image. So I'll quickly find you one that I just did recently that you'll get.
Yeah, I have problems with that. I have two different AI platforms where you can do that, and they never quite get the essence of platform building. I don't understand why I get I get building stuff.
Yeah, you do. You really have to learn to talk to it like it. So I call it the Amelia Bedelia effect. If you ever read those books when you were a kid. And I hated Amelia Bedelia. I hated the books. I was like, why can't she understand? She's taking everything so literally, right? And she's drawing the curtains and literally drawing the curtains, right? So you have to be really careful. So this is what accidentally happened when I typed in make a podcast trailer. But it's kind of awesome.
Those of you who are not watching, there is literally a tractor trailer rig with live podcast coaching on the side.
Well, now it didn't come up. It came up like a Airstream trailer the first time, but it gave me the idea that I could go for this kind of trailer, which, if you think of movie trucks, they're moving around lots of equipment, all this stuff. It kind of does fit this idea. And so I turned the tractor trailer on fire and added not just like electricity coming out of it, because instead of fire, I wanted electricity because that relates to podcasting, right? There's microphone, there's power. And I was talking about amplification. So I also wanted sound waves. And so I probably created this in 10 minutes.
Wow.
And you can't type in too much information. The more information you give it, the worse it is.
Yes, I've noticed that.
Yeah.
Like really bad stuff.
Yeah. Again, but what I do over here in Canva, as you can see, I'm in Canva. I use this thing called the Dream Lab, and it's in beta. They aren't charging us for it yet, but you have to have a paid Canva, and you can use the Dream Lab. And what you'll see is, you see how it's got the little stars in the corner, the little astro star? That's how I know that I'm using Gemini's system to create images here.
Oh, okay.
And so, when it says describe the image in a few words, be really a few words. Make sure you've got your aspect ratio. If you want a specific style, make sure you select it. But I find this was me testing styles, and they look stupid. So I don't use the style part.
Okay.
I don't like it yet. But you could add an image for a reference or as guidance. That works too. But so I do a few words, I get something, I click on it, and then I ask for something more from it. So like I got the tractor trailer and I was like, now put the tractor trailer as if it's in the middle of, space or the desert or like something like that. I go to the next stage. Okay, now let's add electricity coming out of it and sound waves. And then you go to the next level, and then I might recolor it. So like you keep doing it in waves, and it takes less time because you'll go through less, dumb results. But it seems like it's going to take longer. But again, this layered approach, give it pieces of information in priority order. What's the most important thing? The focal image. Then what do you want to add to it? What's next? And then I never ask it to add text.
Oh,
and
really?
never put anything in quotes, because it'll treat it like it's text on there, because it spells stuff wrong, even though you gave it to it in quotes. It cannot. Text is an image to it. It's not editable. So I wouldn't be able to edit it if I changed my title later.
Yeah. And I notice with AI, people think that they don't have to check it over. The grammar is not perfect sometimes, and the spelling is not perfect. Chris Johnson actually edits all of my articles and stuff, and she will come back and say, used a lot of AI in this, didn't you? Because it just doesn't, but in a pinch, I had to use it.
Right. Everyone does nowadays. But if you don't read it and you don't edit and you don't take the time, if you're just kind of doing that pass, stylize, make it casual, stylize, do this, work in these keywords, and you don't do it in that way where you're going systematically through it, you're not editing it. You're not making it good for the humans who are going to read it, and they will know.
Yeah, you and I discussed an AI book that it never got delivered to me, but I heard from you and others that it was horrible. It was boring because there was no personality there. And you really do like, I'm a smartass. If you read my books, you can tell I'm a smartass. But you lose that with AI because you can't tell, like, write a book and be a smartass. It's not,
Yeah.
it's going to come back like, what is a smartass? You're going to have donkey image.
Right, exactly. But now, so the next thing that I might do after all of this is done and I have an article is, let's say I wrote this article, but I didn't know where I wanted to submit it. Now, this is a good thing to do to use ChatGPT for.
Okay.
You could go out there, drop the article in saying, I have this article. What types of publications would have this audience in it that might be the most useful for me to contribute this article to?
Okay. Very good.
So you can try to have I'm going to say a collaborative conversation with what is your assistant. Right? I can't tell you how many times I probably asked an assistant to gather me a list of publications and they can't do it.
Really?
Or it takes months.
You mean a human assistant?
No, human assistant.
Okay.
Yeah. It takes months. And when they come back, I'm like, there's not even a submission possibility for this publication. Like, because they don't understand what you're asking for, right? So you have to be so specific, train them, show them where to go, show them where to pull it, and then tell them to make this list and give you all these details that you need. In this particular case, what I'm doing is I'm saying, what's a right fit for my articles? Where should I be submitting them? Where would be the most likely place for me to get clients, get people who would read this article, who could benefit from the podcast? And so I'm asking for it to give me suggestions and have a collaborative conversation about it. And it'll come up with some ideas. And then I can go back and ask it and say, does my style of writing fit the style of writing from that? Now, it can't always see that. It's if they're publicly available and not behind a pay gate, they can check. But if it's behind a pay gate, they can't tell. So you may still have to have someone go and do the research and then go through that list of them and go, do they take contributors? How do you apply if you've got contributors? So you may need a human to go do that piece of it because you have to go back in, search through the site to find that information.
So that's what I was going to ask. Can you say, like, let's say I wanted to submit something to Forbes. Can I go in and say, find Forbes content calendar? Because most of these magazines have a content calendar and you have to submit months and months before and with the right topic. Can you ask it to go find out what the topics are for each month?
I wouldn't do it within ChatGPT or within Gemini. I just do it straight in Google search because if the page existed, Google would already have it indexed. So its AI will give you an answer up at the top if it's like, here's the process for how to write a contributing article, like, and it'll give you the process and the rules that it finds. So it'll summarize that for you, so you don't even have to read it yet. And then it'll usually have the click through to link to the page.
Okay.
And so that's where I would go if I wanted, more like a connection point as well. Right now, Gemini, some versions of ChatGPT, not everybody may have access to it because you may not be using the most, the newest 0.0, whatever it is right now. And so, but the Gemini does citations. So it'll tell you its sources. And you can highlight everything and make it go back to give you the citations, even if you didn't get them the first time.
I love that. That's why I like Perplexity, because I can double check that the work that my statistics are right, or whatever I put out there, the information's right.
Yeah. So if I'm citing something, and this, I did this especially when I was applying and writing a grant, I needed scientific journals. So I wanted to check the journal that the stats were coming from. And so it would give me the citation, I would check it, and then I would decide if I wanted to use it. So you can be as thorough, like if you're writing an academic article and you need to check your sources, you can do that here. I don't, because my source is just me. So because it came from the transcript and I know what I said.
Right.
So, but there's a lot more detail here. But again, layers. You're going to do the citations and facts and adding in those things at a later layer than you are going to write the general article to begin with. You want to think of it like outlining, framework, details, final edits, keywords in, doing all of those things, and then figuring out the marketing and promotion of it, right? And so all of those things in the proper order is really going to give you much better results. And you'd be surprised once you start doing this, how much better the results are from an impact and effectiveness standpoint, and how much faster it starts to get once it learns what you're looking for.
That's amazing, because I actually was on a call. Somebody who I work with a lot says they can tell. They can see. And it was funny because she mentioned this one thing that she could tell. And I was like, oh my gosh, almost everything I have has that.
So Gemini tends to say, furthermore, and then he'll say when it's in doing the conclusion. Like, so that's, I didn't edit that here, but usually there's a telltale sign in the opening paragraph and in the closing paragraph of which LLM it came from, which large language model it came from. Mm-hmm. And so Perplexity has...
It's in conclusion.
In conclusion, yeah, exactly. So you could just see how they're using it, and that's how you could tell. So a lot of times, because I delete that out, and sometimes I'll tell it why I'm taking stuff out. Like I'll instead of just deleting it and doing it myself, I'll say, hey, fix this paragraph. Take out the formal language, like in conclusion and this, it makes it too boring or it makes it too generic, is usually what I say to it. And I tell it to do that. And usually Gemini's kind of friendly. So it'll respond back and it's like, you're absolutely right. I swear one of these days it's going to be like, you're absolutely right, Tracy. You're amazing. Like it's kissing up to me.
Like Siri that's like, insulting you all the time.
That's right.
I don't even use Siri.
Gemini is not snarky. Okay. I think this is a robotics learning. When there was this Tony Bodo, Tony, right? He does amazing speeches about customer service in the hospitality industry, and he has a podcast called Really Know Your Customer with our good friend Betsy Westhafer. And Tony would give this talk about how they would test out the little robot that would go to your hotel room and deliver you toothbrushes and combs and whatever you needed at the middle of the night, so that they didn't have to. They only had one person working the front desk. They didn't have to leave the front desk. Mm-hmm. And so they would do this, and they would send this robot out. And they discovered that it was so much better to put a cute little face on the robot and have it smiling at you when it gave it to you than if it was just like a screen and like a tray. And just by having the smiley face, people would react so well to it. They'd comment about it. They'd write it in the reviews on the website. Funny. It's just being polite has a huge effect in acceptance. And Gemini is doing that, knows that. If they want us to get hooked on it, then they better be nice to us, better suck up to us, right? But that doesn't mean that we don't want to teach it and be constructive. And one of the things that I always do is when I can teach it, I do. So when I don't just thumbs down something, I'll tell it why.
Okay, good.
And I do that a lot on the image ones because the image ones are really crappy. So I do it a lot over there. I'll tell it why it's bad design or why it's, bad results.
Mm-hmm. And that is hard because we experience that with book covers, because that the author tells me, I tell the designer. And we had one book that Break Free of Your Dirty Little Secrets. I put it in there. I gave it to the designer, and we got something back that looked like porn, like soft porn book cover, just based on that title. So you do have to be really specific,
right? Exactly. And so this is why, though, teaching it over time kind of teaches your tone, teaches how you are. So when I say casual tone, it knows Tracy casual tone, which is not as casual as your average person. Like the other day it said like, I ain't got time for that. I was like, that would not be something that came out of my mouth.
I would never say ain't. How
Right.
many
I would never
times
say
did you have
ain't.
to stick a quarter in a jar when you were a kid for ain't?
Yeah. And so I reminded it that was not my tone, and it fixed it immediately and gave me the, who's got time for that? Like, in a rhetorical
And Tracy,
question.
you're so brilliant because you don't use the word ain't.
I know. My daughter was doing a text for me, and she's in the car and she's texting, and she goes, I promise I use full sentences, Mom.
Really?
So she was sending a text to someone, one of the moms for something for cheer, and she said, I promised I use full sentences so it sounds like you.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I don't speak
I
in
text with full sentences
on text. I talk into it a lot when I text, and people come back to me and they'll say like, wait a minute, you want to do what? Because it'll like insert a word, or and believe me, when you're dating, not cool. Some of the words that
don't do the voice to text.
Yeah,
Not
don't
so
do the
good.
voice to text.
Voice to text is not as good as you think it is. The transcripts are not as good as you think it is. And honestly, like, here's the thing: we think it's going to learn it, and it still hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is simply what I just said. There's no feedback loop.
Yeah.
Because I don't tell it what edits I made to the original transcript, because we go to one of these places, we get a free transcript, we have to download it. We never go back in there and tell it what it got wrong.
Right. Right.
And it will never learn and never progress. My system, Podetize, we actually have a learning module built in. So ours is learning because the final is the published.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so few out there that have that model of being able to do it, that speech to text is just not improving, and it needs to. Because until it does, everything that you do follows it, is wrong. Because it started with something wrong.
Wow.
So,
Tracy, that's a lot of information. Thank you for sharing. If somebody wants to reach out to you and find out more, where do they get a hold of you?
So absolutely, you can go to podcastersunited.org, which is our core place for content creators. I mean, we do a lot more than just podcasters, because we do a lot of video, we do a lot of author stuff. You're on there as well. So like, that's probably the best place to get as much information. And we have a really rich search and tip library. But if you want to reach out to me personally, go find me on LinkedIn. And it's Hazzard with 2 Z's, Tracy with no E. And if you find me there, I actually handle my own DMs. So I handle everything about LinkedIn, except for some of the occasional like promo posting. But other than that, I do it all myself.
Very cool. Well, thank you. This was a lot of information. Again, you guys, if you're listening on podcast, go over on video if you want to see the actual demos she did for us, because that was interesting. I have so many notes here. I'm going to maybe switch from Perplexity. So thank you.
You're welcome. Happy to be here anytime. And I look forward to trainings coming up. You have such a great model of stuff coming up for all your audience and your Breakthrough Author Magazine fans.
Yeah, I'm excited about the trainings. Our one in January just kicked off the year so well. Everybody was very impressed. So I'm loving them. I learn stuff from the people that are in our magazine all the time that I didn't know, because it's not my area of expertise. So thank you. And I think we're going to have you back for a training in May. So thanks a lot.